Hey guys, Rob here, and welcome to Glydal Tech. Alright, so today I'm going to be working on my Star Lord costume a bit more, and I'm going to be working on the blasters. Now, for the blaster, I looked into a lot of options, DIY options, buying off of Etsy options, people who had made 3D prints of the thing, and then also just buying existing models that I could mod myself. And that's what I ended up doing. I bought this Star Lord Blaster off of Amazon. It cost me about $13. I got two of them. Two of them $13 each, and so it was like $27 total with tax and whatnot. But so this is what I got. It's a Star Lord Blaster made by the company Rubies. So it's, you know, very cheap, very lightweight. It's a very cheaply made gun or blaster. It just doesn't even shoot anything. It's just literally a prop piece. There's no trigger, no nothing. So yeah, so my plan is to open this thing up, add some weight to the inside to give it a bit more heft. And then I'm also going to give it a paint job to make it look more like Star-Lord's blaster. And I'm also going to Dremel open the front portions here of the blaster to give it a more realistic look as well. Yeah, so that's my plan. So we're going to jump right into that. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Dremel these holes out of the front. So let's get started. So at this point, I started having trouble getting the two halves apart. After I took the screws out, it became obvious that the two halves of the gun were, you know, glued together. And so I had to take a flathead screwdriver and go around the entire seam of the thing and, you know, break open the two pieces. And at one point I even took two screwdrivers and put them in the holes that I dremeled and pulled them in different directions to break open a new section of the gun. This was really scary because, like I said, it is literally breaking the glue, so I would hear a sickening crack and I would be so scared that I was going to break the entire thing apart and then it would, you know, be broken beyond repair. Alright, here's where I prime everything with white primer paint. I'm just doing light, even coats over this entire thing. My main goal is to just get a good coat of primer on there that can be covered up by another coat of primer later on. That will be my base coat for when I paint the entire thing. So yeah, not much, just covering everything and not letting it glop up too much. And here's my second coat. It's a flat black primer this time. I'm just gonna do the same thing I did last time, just try to evenly cover it with a nice coat of black primer, and this will be my base coat for everything. So while I left some spots not fully covered by the white primer, I want to make sure everything is completely covered by this black primer. That way I don't have to worry about missing any spots, and I can have a good black undercoat for everything. Now it's time to do the painting for everything. I'm looking at reference photos of both the gun and of Cosplay Chris, who also did a modification on this gun where I'm drawing a little bit of inspiration for my color scheme from. And I'm masking off areas that I don't want to be painted silver, that I want to remain black.
yeah, I'm just doing my base outline, making sure everything's even on both sides. That way it's not, you know, overly messed up on one side or overly too far to one end. You know what I'm trying to say, I think. Either way, masking off before I start painting. Alright, this is a basic metallic silver. It's an acrylic silver that I just paint over the entire thing. You see me messing around a bit with trying to scrape it off with a paper towel. And I did that a little bit at the beginning to give it some pieces a bit of a weathered silver look. It didn't work out the way I hoped, and I ended up doing a gunmetal paint a little later on pieces that I wanted to have that weathered look on, or the weathered metal look on. Yeah, here I'm just painting pieces that I think should be silver, or I think need to be silver. And yeah, just covering that. I ended up having to do multiple layers of this paint so I can get it to be as thick as I want and completely cover up the black below. I do both sides, but you'll only see me really doing one side here since I have no need to show you the entire process of me putting on every single brush stroke of paint. I do use a heat gun to dry the paint a bit faster, that way I don't have to wait however long it'll take for the paint to fully dry on its own. That way I can put another layer on pretty quickly afterwards. Alright, so next up is a metallic gold, and this is the exact same process as with the silver. I just do multiple layers of paint where I want them to go until it gets a more solid color. Now you can see where I'm putting the gold on the guns here, and there is a strip of silver that gets put down the middle of each of those little barrel things. You'll see me put it on there in just a moment. And that I had to go over a couple times with the silver as well, since it was painting over gold and I wanted it to be a solid silver band over that. So this was just back and forth, multiple layers of gold and then silver and then some more gold and then some more silver, just trying to get it the solid color that I needed it to be. Yeah, that's about it. It just took a lot of layers of paint. I would love an airbrush to be able to do this with it, because those are a lot better, that you don't leave the brush marks with an airbrush, and it also helps apply a more even coat for everything. But I didn't have an airbrush, so I'm having to do this all with just paint. So yeah. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking these threaded rods and I'm going to be hot gluing them inside of the gun to give it some more weight. By itself, this is just plain plastic, and so it's very, very light, and so I wanted some actual metal in there to make it feel more like an actual gun in terms of weight and heaviness and whatnot. It feels really cool holding this thing after all the stuff has been placed in there. So after I get all the weights put in, I screw the entire gun back together, and it's pretty much finished now. I just got to finish up the weathering process. What you see me doing here is I'm going through with some of this gunmetal paint that I have, metallic gunmetal paint, and I'm going over some of these top and bottom sections and rubbing the gunmetal paint on there, and then using a paper towel to wipe it off and scrub it in there. It doesn't pull all the paint off, but it pulls most of it and just smears what's left over. And it gives it a really nice weathered look there. I'm I'm also going back and using a basic matte black to touch up the handle and make it all evenly, evenly solid black. I did get some excess paint on there while I was painting, and I don't want that fully on there. So now what I'm doing is I'm going through and giving the front of each blaster section a scorched look, and I used a mixture of pink, dark blue, and light blue. I don't remember the exact names. I'll put them in the description if I still have the paints on hand. But yeah, I do the pink first, and then I do my darker blue, and I put that on there. And then after the darker blue, I put the lighter blue on the front. So it's kind of like a layered look. It makes it look like it's, scorched, like it's been firing some heated blast at the end of these nozzles, and I really like the effect that it ended up with. Alright, and then this final step is me weathering the entire thing. I'm going to use some black shoe polish, and I just kind of get it going. I just tap the black shoe polish all over, and I use a mixture of paper towels to wipe the thing, the shoe polish nozzle, and a paintbrush. I really just cake the shoe polish on there and in the crevices, in the little nooks and crannies, everything I can, and then wiped off a lot of it. I left a few glops in the little corners and whatnot because I thought that would look really nice. And then of course I went through and used some of the metallic silver to give it some scuff marks. And there we go. That is my entire DIY process. Here is the blaster in its entirety. Now, one thing that I did do that I did not mention in the time lapse there, and I did not show, was I went to the workshop and put a matte acrylic sealer on this entire thing to keep the paints and shoe polish and whatnot from scratching, well, not scratching off, from rubbing off and whatnot. So it would just seal it all together. That was just a couple seconds of spraying this entire thing. I totally forgot to set up a camera for it. So that's my bad, but it didn't change the look of it at all. It just sealed everything. I really like how much heft this thing has now. It's very, very sturdy. It feels more like an actual weighted blaster. I mean, obviously I can't have you guys hold it to compare, but compared to the two, this here is so much heavier than this one. It's incredible. I'm so happy with how this thing turned out. And then, like I said, the color scheme as well. I'm so happy with what I did with that, what I was able to do with it. I got the front holes drilled open there. I like the, the scorching effect that I was able to get on the fronts of these things. It looks really cool, I think. And yeah, I'm just overly happy with this thing. I'm so happy that I was able to do it, and it turned out like I was hoping it would. I liked using the paint brushes, but I would much rather use an airbrush. So I'm hoping to get an airbrush set where I can, use an airbrush for the next time I do this, which would be really cool, and I think it would give me an even better looking finish. At least for the base coat, I would still use a brush to brush on the scuff marks and whatnot, and the shoe polish for the weathering. But yeah, so that is the project I had for today, just this DIY blaster. I'm still working out how I'm going to put it on my belt, what I'm going to use for a holster, but Zach is working on, or he's going to help me with that. Hopefully we'll be able to design and 3D print something that'll work just great, but I will talk about that in a future video when we have that worked out. Yeah, that's about all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see some more cosplay videos, you can check it out over here. Up top is the last Star Lord cosplay bit I did, where I reviewed the two shirts I got and the jacket. And then down below you can see my Indiana Jones cosplay, the full cosplay. I had a lot of fun doing that. I think you guys will enjoy both those videos. But yeah, as always, if you want to see more videos, please subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.